So who's going first in the 2023 NFL draft? I've got the inside ticket. Do the Democrats in the House of Representatives have a bit of groupthink going on? Budlight, are they too little too late? Or are they doing okay? And a New York Yankee fan uplifting a New York Met. Tell you all about it. Welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping by. Before we get started, go ahead and click that like button, click that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and then share this with all your friends to get the word out. Now let's get going. So who's going first in the 2023 NFL draft? I bet you were hoping that I had an insider's clue. Well, let me tell you what I got. The general manager for the Carolina Panthers is the only person that knows who he's going to select as the first pick. If at all, he's going to use it. He may trade it away. I doubt it after he gave up so much in order to get it. But who knows who he's going to pick? And honestly, he could pick either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Both had great college careers. I don't doubt that they'll do okay in the NFL. Hopefully, they can do well in the NFL and have great careers. But honestly, the only person who knows is the general manager for the Carolina Panthers. So for the rest of us, how about we just wait until the team that we like picks, and we can complain about that at that point in time. So all 203 Democrats in the House of Representatives have voted no to the bill that was going to protect women's sports. Basically saying a man can't participate in a woman's sport. It's a shame we've come to that, but I guess we have to. So they put out a bill, there was a bill put out to protect women's sports. I mentioned the bill earlier in an episode in regards to Megan Rapinoe and her lack of support for it. But 203, all 203 Democrats voted no on this bill. So all 203 fall into groupthink. And what is that? Groupthink is almost self-explanatory. It's thinking like the group or behaving in a manner because the group says that's what you should do. So somebody in the hierarchy of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives says you will vote no on this bill. And so blindly following, all 202 followed the one who said vote no, and they all voted no. Not a single one of them had enough courage to stand up and protect women's sports. Not a single one of them. And whether it's fear of not being supported by my fellow party members or fear of my getting bombasted by the media, not a single one of them had the guts to protect women's sports. Crazy. Budlight still reeling from their decision to put Dylan Mulvaney's face on their can. If you don't know, here's a brief summary. Bud Light, week and a half ago, was doing all right. And they decided to put Dylan Mulvaney's face on their can and send it to him. And then he put out a video saying, "Yay, Bud Light is celebrating me." What Bud Light didn't figure out was that the people that drink Bud Light don't like the fact that a man who dresses up like and pretends to be what he thinks is a little girl is not what they want to promote. And so they stopped buying Bud Light to the tune of about $5 billion so far. Then the next day, one of the VPs says, yes, we actually do support Dylan Mulvaney. A couple of days later, the uppity ups of Budweiser decided, hey, I don't know who did this. Some lower person decided to do this, and we didn't know anything about it. But we don't want to be divisive. So a non-apology is what people have been calling it, but I don't there was no apology in there. It was just a statement of we didn't want to be divisive. Then recently, Anheuser-Busch came out with, they threw out their Clydesdales, saying the Americans are too dumb. They'll come back to us because we're going to put out the Clydesdales and remind them that they like the Clydesdales. Well, Bud Light is still reeling from that misadventure. And you know Anheuser-Busch isn't winning when the ladies on The View are ticked off at you. So you can't do anything right, Budweiser. Can't do anything right. That is what it is. SpaceX. SpaceX had an explosion the other day. I don't know if any of you got to see that footage. But here you go. Let's give it a look. So as you can see, there's the rocket it was shot off into the sky, and it failed to separate. The top part of it, the Starship spacecraft, failed to separate from the super heavy booster. And so that caused the rocket to spin. And so as a fail-safe, it was designed to explode if that were to happen in order to protect it from falling to the ground and causing much more damage as a huge solid piece as opposed to disintegrated pieces. So that was done on purpose. So it wasn't an accident. It was a fail-safe that was done on purpose should their desired outcome, which is a complete separation, not happen. Was it the desired outcome? No, they wanted that spacecraft to separate from the rocket. But since it didn't, their fail-safe worked. And so I'm reminded of what Thomas Edison said about his invention of the light bulb, where he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times in the invention of the light bulb. I just invented a light bulb with 1,000 steps. So recognizing that there needs to be improvement, I'm excited about what SpaceX has in the future. Being able to do this unmanned to the point where an experiment like this can occur like this and not injure anyone, so that they can get their X's and O's there and dotting their I's and crossing their T's, so that when the inevitable comes and we do man these rockets that SpaceX are putting together, that there won't be any incurred hurt or injury or death when we send the next adventurers into space. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with that. I can't wait to see that. It's going to be so exciting for me to watch that. For hopefully we can see that Mars adventure in my lifetime. I'm not that old, so we've got some time, but I want to see what SpaceX does. And this is the first stages of it, getting those things correct and doing it without any injury to mankind. New York Yankees. The thought of that franchise, the stating of that name, is one of the most well-known names, sports names, in the world. In the world. And it comes with such hallowed ground, an atmosphere around it. And there are some people who, if you mention anything else other than the New York Yankees, you're dead to them. That's a little extreme. But I will say this, is that I am a diehard Yankee fan. And I have been my entire life. My father grew up just blocks away from Yankee Stadium. Growing up, all I knew as far as sports were concerned was the New York Yankees. I was probably 8 when I found out there was just other sports than the New York Yankees baseball. But the New York Yankees was a team that have followed my entire life. And so I say that because what I'm doing right now is tantamount to blasphemy in some areas, as I'm going to recognize a member of a crosstown rival, the New York Mets. Now, before I go there, I am a fan of the game of baseball. Grew up loving baseball. Obviously, the New York Yankees. My dream was to be the starting catcher for the New York Yankees. As you can see, I didn't make it there. So, I was also one of those who, yes, my dream was to play for the New York Yankees. I played all the way through college, but I wanted to play for the New York Yankees. And I realized I wasn't going to make the major leagues rather soon when I got to college. But I enjoyed playing. And so I would have been happy being drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals, the historical rival of the New York Yankees. I would have loved to have been drafted by the Cardinals. Just to play Major League Baseball would have been absolutely amazing. That's how much I love the game of baseball. And so from that perspective, I'm going to bring up Pete Alonso, the New York Met. This man has been crushing the baseball. So far this year, he's got 10 home runs in the month of April. That's not the record for the month of April, but he's close and he has an opportunity to do so. He's got a few more days before the end of the month comes in. The record for the month of April is held by none other than future Hall of Famer Albert Pujols. Made that record in 2006. At that point in time, he had 14, and he went on that year to, I think he ended up that year with like 54, 56 home runs. I think he ended up in the top 3, the home run leaders that year. Before that, 1997 and 2001, both of those years, 13 were hit. 97, Ken Griffey Jr. And that ended that year with, I think, 56 home runs. And then in 2001, Luis Gonzalez hit 13 that month and ended that year with like 53 home runs. So it is possible that Pete Alonso can have a good year and hit an enormous amount of home runs. Not that he needs any help or that he doesn't have the history. His rookie year in 2019, he bashed a record 53 home runs that season. So he has the opportunity to do so. To date, he's got 156 home runs. And that's just including the shortened season of the 2020 COVID. I think there were 60 games that year. So roughly just a little over 3 years, he's got 156 home runs already. Dynamite. But my point is to say this, is that he every year has participated in the Midsummer Classics, All-Star Games, Home Run Derby. He's won it twice so far. Both times it was back to back. and he just smashes home runs. And so I say that to say this, is that I grew up watching my favorite ball players participate in that midweek classic. The King Griffey Jr.'s tinging home runs. The Pujols's tinging home runs. The Miguel Cabrera's tinging home runs. The Aaron Judges nowadays. The Mike Trouts. The Pete Alonsos. And in the NBA, you'd watch the Dominique Wilkins, the Michael Jordans, the Vince Carters, the Shaquille O'Neals go and do the slam dunk contest. You'd watch the Larry Birds go and do the three-point contest, the Reggie Millers go and do the three-point contests. And you'd watch them and they'd compete and they cared about it and they wanted that. You'd see the quarterbacks, the ones that didn't get to the Super Bowl, go and play in the skills challenges in the Pro Bowl before the Pro Bowl would happen. And you'd see them all compete because they cared about it. They wanted to compete. They were part of the greats. And hopefully you can see guys like Pete Alonso and Aaron Judge and Mike Trout put their names up there with the greats, not just because they do the All-Star game, but because that is a part of being great, loving the competition enough to participate in something that the fans love. And you go and you do it and you have fun and you put your name out there. Unlike a certain player whose teammates are now making goat sounds about. Of course, I'm talking about LeBron James. A man too good to go play in the slam dunk contest, but known for his monstrous dunks. I'm not saying he's a bad NBA player or a bad basketball player, but he is in nowhere near the conversation for the greatest of all time. But Tom, he's got the all-time scoring record. In a day and age where no one plays defense. So yes, you play long enough, you're going to get the all-time scoring record because no one's defending you. Enough said about that one. But a GOAT doesn't have his teammates making goat noises at him or calling himself the GOAT. He's not even in the conversation. If you want a conversation about the GOAT, you got to look at your Michael Jordan. And honestly, argue Bill Russell, your Oscar Robinsons, your Hakeem Olajuwons, your Magic Johnsons, your Larry Birds, your Kareem Abdul-Jabbars. I mean, heck, the logo for the NBA is Jerry West. Then you go into your Shaquille O'Neals and your Kobe Bryants and your Tim Duncans, who are champions, majority winning champions. Before you even think about hinting about anybody in today's day and age, especially a self-proclaimed team-gaggling GOAT who doesn't do what the fans want and coming to compete because I guess he doesn't want to get hurt or cramp and have to get carried off. He's not the GOAT. So shout out to you, Pete Alonso, for not only doing well in your career, but also giving the fans what they want, seeing gravity-defying home runs, making it a spectacle again. Well, that's all I have for today. The descriptions of everything carry all the links. Catch you on the flip side.